Okay. Okay. I mean, to put it in a nutshell, skateboarding's been very good to me, but it almost killed me a couple of times straight off the bat.
Arto's a risk taker. Some of the greatest are. Like, he came from Finland to do this. And it destroyed him. Just destroyed his body so quickly.
I mean, he was getting injured quite a bit back in the day. He'd come on trips and maybe get injured, or maybe he already was injured. And so I think we all reached that point.
When you can do every single thing, you know, that you could think of on a skateboard very easily, and then all of a sudden maybe injuries or your body like won't let you do that anymore, it can be really like hard mentally.
He really had the struggle with skateboarding, which a lot of pros do when they're coming at their tail end. You know, he couldn't lip slide a 44-foot rail, like as big as he would go and as gnarly as the things that he was doing, he couldn't outdo that again.
For a long time, I was like, this guy wants to die. Like, it's scary, you know? And I think he's kind of growing out of that. You know, I think he likes to ride that edge, though, for sure. And I think that's why the surfers also kind of love Arto back.
Everybody likes and knows Arto. He's not scared to be a photographer, and he's not worried about meeting people. He just does it, and that's how he did skating.
I feel like Arto was received really well here, just because I think it's like his love for the people and just the community in general, where it didn't really seem like he had an agenda. He was just here and just found interesting things that we do on the islands that interested him, and he thought was a cool story to tell through his creative outlet now being photography.
I moved to Ventura like 5 years ago, and then I've been eyeing this place because it's half vacant, half not vacant. So I figured, oh, maybe I could make something here using existing things that are already here. Like that bench was here. I just added some pavers to the side to make it like a wall-y to bench. Guy, Mariano, dropped this off yesterday, and I put it in the ground yesterday. I'm like, oh, this might actually work.
Oh, look at that. That is a pro job right there. If I seen one, I think this will look cool. Got two of these big blocks. Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. We got one. Look through the viewfinder so you can see close up.
Dude, this spot looks cool with all those pillars, huh?
Yeah, and the trees.
Hey, I like that one.
Yes.
How did I meet Arto? I think it was 2003, 2004, maybe 2002, something around those years. You know, the story he told me, he just came to California. He didn't speak English. He like went to a contest. Next thing you know, he went straight from, you know, moving from his town to Helsinki, went to a contest that I think I remember. It was one of those like 4-on-1 like Europe contests they used to always have, and he like was kickflip back tail sliding across like a pyramid box. He just looked all cool.
Oh. Street yoga. Damn it, I used to skate. All right, Stefan, I'm warmed up to shoot a photo.
He made his first splash in the contests. He was just this contest killer, but obviously he had a real solid style. He was like put to the top of the class as far as like sponsors and things pretty quickly. And his name was weird, but not so weird that Americans couldn't pronounce it.
He was kind of reserved, you know what I mean? He wasn't gregarious or boisterous. He was just like Arto. He was very refined, even at that time, you know?
Homma ei skulaa ollenkaan, vittu. Päiväkakkara liikaa hattusi.
He stood out because he had such good style, and everyone was like, it was funny because he switched sponsors like throughout each event. He would come to one and be riding for one company, and then the next one he'd show up and he was riding for the next. And then he moved out to California for Flip, and he was living in Huntington.
What?
Loved the way he skated. You know, his style was fucking amazing, and just the things he were doing was so brutal.
Arto's an exceptional skater, like stair counting, never been done's, heavy fucking hammer skating, like high level, peak fucking manly, gnarly skating that no one's ever done before.
You can't really like force a style, right? Everyone just has their own personal style, like the way their arms move, the way they do tricks, and he just happened to be very stylish skater. And he was so tech too, so he wasn't just like big, like rah, rah, rah. He was really graceful.
With skateboarders, they look at all his parts, you know, and they look at his covers and they look at his magazines, and again, the guy was just amazing. And then I think he's, you know, a tall, good-looking, handsome dude. He's just got that look to him, and I think he just had that draw.
To be able to get out of Finland, get sponsored in America, it's like that's a long road to accomplish. But I mean, for better or worse, it's a curse and a blessing. It's like I feel like I just have a one-track mind. Once I set myself, if I get interested in something, it's just everything else goes out the window.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, this is looking like it. My whole life was a big tour, so taking photos made sense because I was around awesome shit all the time, man, all over the world. You know, everything I did, I took my camera with me. Oh, man. Yeah, it looks like I did some art, but what we got here is a fucking camel's head, and then we got the pyramids. You know, I was just dabbling. If you're looking for perfection, then fuck off. At about 17 or 18 years old, Arto was already in California. He was already on the scene. He was like the new dude on Flip. Everybody knew who he was. And I got a random call, and it was Arto. And I was like, oh shit, Arto, I know, yeah, of course, I know, yeah. And he's wanted to hang out and see what's up, maybe get on Flip or something. So I was like, all right. And I went up there and I skated with them, and we just hit it off. And we were all just pure skateboarders back then, man. It was not much else to life except for fucking ripping, period.
Arto, wake up. Wake up, let's go skate, man. All right.
Arto, wake up. Let's go skate. Let's go skate. I mean, I get that out of car windows. I get that everywhere I go. I get it on Instagram. It's just like, for some reason, that quote has like stuck in everyone's brain.
Everything about the whole thing was so perfect. Just like the spot, the way he did it, the song he skated to. I mean, it's like probably halfway Arto's fault for even everyone doing such big handrails and stuff, you know what I mean? It's crazy.
Early 2000s, when we were filming all those videos, I mean, I was so young, I was just hungry after spot, just whatever, Barcelona, SF, LA, like just send me anywhere where there are spots.
Just super exciting. Like, it's dangerous, it's all the newest tricks, it's all the biggest spots. The tricks he could do at the contest, he could probably do at like the popular rails around Southern California. So it was like, it was really exciting to be out with the flip guys because you felt like, oh, these are the best guys.
It was Jeff that got Skate of the Year in 2000, and then it was Arto in 2001. Then 2003 was me. That was like 3 flip guys in like a 4-year span. So we were on fire at the time.
Come on.
Show me. Show me.
How many tries?
2.
There's been different generations that are awesome and golden eras or whatever. And they always culminate with 4, 5, maybe 10 dudes clicking at the right time and head and shoulders being able, without being egotistical, but knowing in their heart, looking down like no one's even close to us.
We knew we were doing the damn thing pretty damn good. Like, we knew that, but it didn't get to our heads or anything. We were just so, that's what we were gonna do. We were so driven to just be as great at skating as we could and push it. And the industry was great and the era was the best, and it was just the best thing to do for all of us.
These dudes are gnarly. They were killing themselves for a video. Ow! And there was a big peak of shoe payoff where they actually probably were the first groups that could actually have 3 years, destroy themselves, and change the world and change skateboarding so gnarly. They did that. That group of dudes did that.
Over, done. Can I go home now? Please take me home.
You're risking your life for 2.5 seconds of footage. 2.5 seconds or 3 seconds, whatever it takes to do a trick down, whatever. Yeah, it's pretty genius, if you ask me. I mean, before I even filmed any video parts, I got knocked out twice, woke up in a hospital, and I thought for sure I'm getting a one-way plane ticket back home. You know, I was just the am for flip at the time, making no money, no contracts. And within a month and a half, I got knocked out twice, woke up in a hospital, and I'm just like, oh, these guys are gonna send me home on the next plane for sure, you know?
I'm looking at my notes here, and I'm surprised that Arto Saari, he almost died twice while making this film for you ingrates out there.
Holy fuck! That's it. I fucked myself. I broke my ankle. That was it.
Your toe or your ankle?
I don't know. It's fucking both. Like, it's like right there. The whole fucking thing's just like fucked. Fuck.
Look at it in the fucking. Oh, it's broken, Fred. It kills too much. I gotta put the ice on it.
I mean, there'd be trips where the thing he would try was so crazy that maybe the first time he tried it, he ate shit so hard that he's in a van walking around with just ice packs all over him for the next 5 days. Yeah, I mean, I've seen him do gigantic hubas and handrails that I'm just like, you know, hey, watch that knee, you know? And he's just like, no, because, you know, in his mind, he can switch straight flip, you know, giant stuff.
Fred, I fucking hate my job. Oh, you know what? No, I don't. I fucking love it. This is what I live for. For this. For pain. But that's what I live off of. Fucking frustration, pain. That's what makes me throw myself down things like this, and this is what happens. Yeah, but I should have just fucking stayed in school.
Things seem like fun and games. You're like, oh, these are these infallible, like, deities. But I imagine, like, hitting your fucking head that many times. It's like, oh, having your brain hit the side of your head over and over and over, like, is, you know, it's gonna affect you.
I think I had 6 surgeries within like 7 years. And eventually, the last video part I did, I basically shredded my ACL right through it during the last 6 months of filming it. I was like, okay, I'm done with the video part. I'm gonna go redo it. And the doctors are like, well, you're 29. You've already had 6 surgeries. Your knee looks like Swiss cheese. And you need a total knee replacement. And we don't do those to anyone under 30 years old. So get out of here. I'm like, that's it? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, what do I do? They're like,
that's tough. I mean, skateboarding, that's the thing that sucks about it, is it's like, it's mentally challenging, it's physically challenging. You know, the end is near. You know, the sign, the guy with the sign, the end is near. It's kind of like on the shoulder of all pro skaters.
If you're putting your energy into something, this creative energy, you can be that peak #1 skater. But when you're not, if he's hurt, that energy can go into fucking drugs and alcohol, or it can go into a photography career, or it can go into like music. And I've seen Arto be fucking kind of crazy. Like, so even when I knew him, like going through a hard time, some of that's like gotta be like concussion related. And I've noticed them all kind of having like emotional trouble with the time from when they were like pro to not pro, and like figuring out that adjustment and having some like growing pains in the process. And I'm just speculating, but I was like, some of this is like gotta be like concussion related.
I had completely lost track of the fact that skateboarding had become a really huge industry. So all of a sudden this beautiful little dark-haired, moody 19-year-old was showing up like in our scene at our friends' clubs and at, you know, like, who's this kid that I keep seeing? And my friend Jen was like, oh, that's Dylan Reeder, you know, I'll introduce you. He's basically from your neck of the woods, you know? And me and Dylan became best friends.
Dylan met Mimi, and then I met Mimi through Dylan, and then Mimi had gone through a breakup at that time and was just like, oh, I need to meet someone. I'm like, you need to meet Arto.
And Abla was like, oh, he speaks 6 languages. He's like, Arto's the best, you know? And the first night I met him, I was like, so you were in France and like your knee, and I was like, you know, Abla said you like speak all these languages, and he was like, you know, Arto's like, he's like half Neanderthal. He literally was like grunting, and he was like, no. And he was like, and I was like, this guy does not speak 6 languages, but that's fine.
I was supposed to go on my first date with Mimi. She was doing a home-cooked meal. She invited me up to Sierra's like, hey, I'm cooking at the house, like, come up. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go film this trick, whatever. And we just kind of started, you know, dating, and I'm like, oh, home-cooked meal, like, this is a big one, whatever. And the last trick I was trying to film for the alien part, which ended up being the intro clip, it was 2 weeks before the premiere, full face plant. I didn't get knocked out, but I was like, my face was messed up enough where I didn't want to try to clean it myself. I just drove to the ER. I'm like, can you guys clean this up? I gotta go on a date. Home cooked meal. I gotta go. Come on, hurry up. They got this suction thing. They're like vacuuming my face, getting all the gravel out of it, and then just patched me up, glue up, and it was like, hey babe, I'm running a little late. Like, can you know, stick it in the oven or whatever? Like, keep the food warm. I'm coming. It's like, what happened? It says, I had to go fix my face. I'll be right there.
That group of kids, you know, Stefan and Arto and Dylan, they were like really special kids. They were, I call them kids, and some of them are older than me, some of them are younger, and some of them are no longer with us, but they were different.
For like us to just be like a really tight-knit group of friends instead of like a team, you know, like with endorsement deals or whatever, like it was more of like an actual skating group of friends who got to go everywhere and skate together, hang out, eat dinner, and laugh at each other, make fun of each other, and you know, it was just like a fun time, you know, it was really cool.
In.
Exposure is probably off. The focus is probably off.
You gotta be kidding me.
It's probably off.
Arto, you got like 30 grand worth of cameras. You gotta know how to use those things.
Oh, says who? It looks pretty sweet.
I remember when he got really into the photography thing, and we took some awesome skate photos, you know, and sequences were a big thing back then. He always had a bag full of cameras, like the one that would take the sequences, the fucking Hasselblad would look in the fucking square thing, and you know, like the little light meter. Like he was always doing all this shit, and I was like, oh, that's funny. But I knew he was taking it serious, and it seemed like every other week he would have some new weird camera.
The human tripod.
All my early influences in photography were all skate photographers. And I got lucky that I got photographed by most of them. So I was around them, and when I started getting interested in cameras, I basically got a crash course from each one of these guys. They're like, oh yeah, this does that, and this is this kind of film stock, this camera shoots like this.
What do you reckon, Fred? 5'6", 5'6"?
But most of the time, I was just on tour skating, and I would just developed a pretty excessive camera habit. So everywhere I went to the camera store and bought a new camera on the trip, and then I'm like, okay, how do I shove this into the bag?
I remember it actually even feeling kind of weird, right? Like, because he had all these friends that were incredible photographers. They were already doing that, and like Arto was the talent. And then Arto kind of wanted to start to do that. I remember thinking like, oh, this is weird. You know, there was like a little bit of kind of friction in the air. I always felt, because it's like, you don't get to do everything. You know, you can't be a skater, and now you can't shoot, and now you can't, you know, I remember feeling like that. And I remember him feeling, I think, like that. Like a little judged and a little pushback. And it was like, whoa, you don't just get to do anything and everything you want, you know? But Arto's that kind of person. Like, he is very much, if he sets his mind to something, he kind of can't and won't really back down.
He was the best kind of amateur photographer in that he was not worried about showing people stuff or trying or getting in the shot. He had none of those hang-ups that the regular people do, and he had enthusiasm for it that we were just like, sure. So we ran, like, these were probably some of the first rolls of film he even shot.
Just his subject matters and his compositions and the things that he was seeing or sees with his eye, because it's all in here in your brain. Like, you can give anyone a camera, but not everyone can see. And he's got magic, special eyes.
I've always been interested in photography. I started traveling with my friends and just going to all these amazing places. I was like, oh, buy a point and shoot, like just shoot this stuff. Like, I don't know why, just shoot it. Even though I wasn't really thinking of composition at the time or whatever, but I had a feeling where I knew that some of these moments are gonna be special.
The first time I ever saw Arto in real life, it was somebody else skating, and they're shooting someone else do a trick, and he's sitting there with a camera shooting the skate photo. Usually pros, when someone else is trying to trick, they're like smoking cigs or drinking over there somewhere, and Arto's just like, oh yeah, I'll shoot the photo, or I'll shoot the video. And so he's always been into photography and like the production side of it.
I didn't have anything going on. I was just like, photography was just like what I wanted to do. And then I got linked up with Michael Muller, and he was kind of like, well, why don't you just come and assist on set and just come and see what this is all about? Just like come and roll up some chords and whatever. And just those few shoots, I learned so much.
He didn't come a lot, nor would I want him to come a lot, because here's the thing. You need to go out there and do it yourself. Like pick up some things and go do it. Because you do it too long, you get insecure. Well, I'm not, or you start trying to shoot like I'm shooting. And he didn't do that. He found his own niche, his own way, and went out and did it. But yeah, you get to really learn how to work with people. When I think of Arto, I think black and white. And if you know anything about these guys, they're moving, they're surfing, they're skating faster. You know, they're doing huge shit, and you're taking this fast-moving object, this fucking skater, and you're Arto Saari portrait. Whew. That's how I would sort of encapsulate Arto Saari.
he's got every single skater that's like, dude, Arto Saari shooting me. Like, they know he knows what he's doing, so if he's asking him to do something, they're gonna do it. And then all of a sudden you look and his photos come out insane.
He's got the eye, you know, it's like, it's not just standard, it's very like artsy. It's not like journalism. He's not just like capturing like what happened or like a trick someone did. He's actually, you know, enhancing it. It's like a piece of art now. Like you could have a huge one and people would just be like, wow, what a beautiful photo.
So skating with Dylan and Stefan, we just have this amazing sunset session, and I just called Lance. It's like, hey, I want to build a pool. I think I'm over the mini ramp. I thought I was gonna build a mini ramp. Like, what should I do? I want to build a pool. And he's like, I'll be there tomorrow at 9 a.m. Click.
When he built his pool, it was so small and mellow and right that it was better than most skate park pools, because people don't even understand the way a pool works. It's kind of constantly moving and changing, and so it was built that way.
He drove up the next day, and he kind of doodled on napkins, like, okay, this shape, and we're looking at my yard. The garage is this big. There's a grapefruit tree, avocado tree, a ficus. He's like, I don't want to touch the trees. Like, what can we do? Okay, let's lose 1/3 of the garage. So just sawed the wall off and moved it back. Took 1/3 of it out so I didn't have to touch the trees. And then we're like, well, left-hand kidney it is. That's what fits in that space. So that's how it became a left-hand kidney. I mean, to this day, people hit me up. It's like, hey, do you have drawings for that pool? Like, we want to make replicas. And people made replicas of that pool all over the world. First, when the pool got built, I was skating it a bunch, and then it kind of turned into an open-air photo studio for me, and I just got I was diving deeper into photography, and I enjoyed more photographing people skating than the actual act of skating itself.
That bowl became such a communal, you know, ground for so many things, you know. So that was definitely, like, I would say, the bridge to the shooting more and more and more. A camera in his hand, and he came home and he said, I felt that feeling again. Like, when I got that shot, I felt that feeling of when I used to land a trick. Makes me a little sad. And I was like, oh, I hope that's true. Because sometimes also, like, he has a tendency to, like, tell himself stories, and which sometimes is good. Like, sometimes you have to, like, tell yourself things, you know what I mean, to really believe it. And I remember thinking in my heart, like, I hope that's really true, because I kind of knew that, like, nothing would really compare to the life that he had had.
You know, when Arto had his house with a pool, Dylan was always there. And again, they were like big brother, little brother. They just really uplifted each other, where they never had that, you know, negative thing with hating on each other. Like, you see Arto wearing Dylan's shoes and all this stuff, and you're like, well, that doesn't really look right, you know. And Arto would wear weird outfits at times, and Dylan would be like, dude, you can't wear that, you know, you gotta fucking roll your pants down and all this shit. And yeah, it was pretty cool.
I got pregnant and I was having a boy, and I don't want to start crying, but Dylan had died, and I just said, like, if you knew that you weren't gonna live, like, where are we living? What are we doing? Like, what matters, you know? So Dee dying was a big part of Ragnar being born and our departure from LA, for sure.
I mean, I'm I'm stoked he got to see the world, and he accomplished a lot in those few years that he was here with us. I mean, he did a lot, and obviously, I mean, you can still see the impact, what he did in skateboarding, and the impact he's had on people, you know? But, and I never even would have met Mimi without Dylan. Like, that's how we met through him, you know? So I wouldn't have this family. I probably wouldn't be here today without him, you know? These are young coconuts, so these should be good to drink. Here, catch. No, just kidding. Can you grab those two? Here, we can go over here.
I feel like they just were like, we're gonna move to Hawaii. And they're like, we're gonna sell our house. And they're like, oh, it's sold. All right, bye, we're going to Hawaii. And then they just went to Hawaii and had a baby and built a house from scratch.
Is that from our tree?
Yeah, this is from our tree. It's the first batch, the first coconuts from our tree. It's kind of special, huh? We can share this one. You and me, we can share it. There you go, both hands, please, it's slippery. Rags, how do you like island life? I felt like I was getting so unhealthy and just sluggish, not being able to ride a board. And the last 3 years I was in LA, I think I did 3 photo shoots in LA. And I was like, everything else is a travel job. It's like, does it really matter where I live if everything I've done in 3 years, I've only done 3 photo shoots in LA. I'm like, I could live anywhere, fine. Like, I'm like, babe, you wanna go? Let's go.
I thought that we had made just the biggest mistake of our life. It was just too much. It was all just too daunting. It was like we had a brand new baby. The phone calls kept coming in, like Arto was getting dropped, like sponsor after sponsor. We found out my mom had a second stroke. She was on Maui. Arto never even flinched. My mom had that second stroke and he was like, okay, well, she'll live with us. And I was like, okay, you don't have a job, I don't have a job. Like, no one has jobs. What are we doing? We have this huge property, we have kids, like, what's happening? Little did the whole world know that we were also about to be like shut down for a pandemic.
The companies weren't putting pressure on me whatsoever. Like, it wasn't that. It was more in my own head, like, okay, I know what I'm capable of. I know what level I should be skating at, but my body physically can't follow that. And I kind of battled with that for years. But it wasn't until I came to Hawaii and started surfing that I feel like I was fully able to let go of that feeling, you know? I was like 95% there, but from once I picked up a surfboard and I started going in the ocean, I feel like I was like finally okay with it myself, not being able to ride a skateboard. Mimi's like, let's go raise a family in Hawaii. I'm like, yeah, let's go. I'm just like surfing.
When he first moved out here, I was like, oh, skater Arto, we're building a skate park, we're gonna skate. And then it was like, oh no, he's more into learning how to surf. All right, well, I'll take him surfing at these spots that aren't really where I wanna go, because he's not really ready for them. And I call it charity surf. I'm like, all right, I'll charity surf with you, because I'll do that for people first timers that want to surf or whatever. But the skating side kind of fell away, and then it was like, we're building his house, but he's just going full bore, like construction mode. So when I saw what he was doing, I looked at his property. He had an old existing building that he was gonna renovate, and he was gonna build a new house. I was like, hey, this guy probably needs help. And I don't know if he has many friends out here, but I know him and I'll be his friend. So it was like a slow build of help. Like I would come out and kind of see some progress. Like suddenly there'd be like plants all around the whole property, and I'd be like, when did he do this? Like how long did this take? And it seems like with him, he gets something in his mind and can just drive at it.
When he's enthusiastic about something, when he's fired up about something, it's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen now. And if you talk to him, he'll readily admit this. Like when he got into home construction, he went and bought a fucking Bobcat. Like the good one. You need the blue one,
Arto always likes the best. He likes, he's not like a fancy guy, but he's funny because he likes the best camera. He likes the best, everything. When we built the house, it had to be the biggest foundation and the most solid house, and that's really who he is.
Well, Mimi's always joked about, it's like, hey, she's always talked about it since I met her. It's like, let's move to Hawaii one day, let's move to Hawaii one day. And I'm like, oh, look I got this property with an outhouse looking thing on it. Would you like to move in? She's like, what did you do? That's not the Hawaii I want. Like, she was pissed.
His wife's pregnant, so there's a lot on his plate. He has to build a place for her to be with their newborn baby and his daughter and her mother. So it's like, all that's on his back. He's never built a place before. He goes in full bore, builds this place, not having experience in construction. And then to go into a completely different place to live, and do that is nuts, it's pretty wild.
I just kind of put my hands up, and it's like, hey, this is direction life is taking me. I'll just go with it. So I got like 2.5 months to get the house into a condition where she could have birth. And we ended up having a home birth here. Ragnar was born right in the house. In Finland, they don't build a residential home without a sauna. I think the hottest one I've ever been was like 124 Celsius. I don't know what that's maybe like 250, 255 Fahrenheit or something, or 240, something like that. That was hot. That's like almost, that's for like full pros only. There's a couple of golden sauna rules. You never open the door mid-blast. You don't talk about religion or politics in the sauna, and always go full ladle.
He's obviously done it his whole life. He's born, I don't know if he told you, he was born inside of a sauna, like actually. But if there's gonna be anything that helps you in the sauna with Arto, he's gonna hide it from you, for sure. I don't know what it is. The way he puts the water on the rocks, it's like he is like the volcano that's putting this lava basically on these rocks that make it 1 billion times harder than anyone else that could just grab the ladle and put the water on the rocks. I don't know what he does with it.
Dude, those guys, where they come from is no joke when it comes to saunas. Like, I'm like tapping out, my ears are burning, like Arto's just more heat.
It's almost as if he doesn't even look anymore and he's just doing this and he's just talking normal to you, and you're just like there, like holding your head, like hiding your ears, and he traps me in there.
It's basically become the public North Shore sauna. Everyone comes by and has a blast. But yeah, the kid, my son loves the ice bath. He doesn't care so much for the sauna, but he loves to just jump in there and freak himself out, and then he loves the ice. The first 7 years has been incredible. Like Ella was 6, 7 years old when we came here, so she's turning into a teenager now, so she got a good chunk of it. Ragnar's obviously born here, but then it wasn't until I started riding up and down on the bike path, taking the kids to school, going surfing, checking surf. Like I'm on the bike path like 15 different times throughout the day, and I kind of just start seeing these little moments and light and different things happening. I'm like, I'm just gonna give it a shot and just start snapping some pictures. I love keeping just one camera on me, no lens cap. Camera's always on, just ready to shoot. And then I started photographing all the locals, just like action on the bike path, and then I just go and shoot pipe when it's firing, shoot a couple surf pics, just for fun and just not really knowing what to do with it. I just kind of felt like I should start shooting pictures, and all of a sudden, it's just kind of started turning into this. And I started doing little prints that like, oh, I like this picture, I just print it up, pin it on the wall, and it's just kind of started becoming the world of bike path.
Arto was received really well here, just because in my mind, skateboarding is not an easy community to really integrate yourself into anyways. You gotta like pay your dues, do a lot of the work in order to gain the respect. And it's the same with any culture or place you go to, right? Is put in the work, serve the people, and then you gain that respect the right way.
It's also cool to see like his fresh new take on how he photographs the water and surfers and kind of beach culture. So it's nice to have like fresh eyes on something that we've always seen, but he's coming from Finland all the way to Hawaii. It's like definitely a fresh look on like what his perception of surfing and surf culture is through his lens.
The ocean photos are like insane to me. It's like surf waterman photos meet like Game of Thrones. Like, what is this? Like, they're so psychotic.
The stuff that he's doing, like shooting all the stuff on the North Shore, all the surf stuff, like that to me is the equivalent of like what he was doing in skateboarding. Like the giganticness is like on par with like how gnarly he was as a skater.
Nothing ever cool or game-changing came from being safe. Everything that's ever done is when someone that took a risk and people go like, whoa, that's cool.
The pipeline is one of the gnarliest waves in the world, if not the gnarliest, and it kills more people than any other wave. This is all injuries from pipeline. It's kind of sick in the head to shoot that stuff, but I feel like it needs to be documented.
At the end of the day, as a photographer, I feel like part of it's not my job, part of my your requirement as a human is to use that tool to document the good, the bad, pick a cause to shed light on something that maybe they're never gonna get them, be a voice. Be the voice for the voiceless, be an image maker for the people that can't get their story out. And that's sort of, I feel, an ethic that if you're a photographer, whether you like it or not, it's something that you need to know that is required of you as a human.
Obviously taking the kids to the beach, like I was taking Ragnar to swim one day with his buddy. I would just go shoot in the evenings, like last couple hours of light, and had my long lens with me. I actually went there to shoot empty waves because I knew it was kind of big, and then I see these cats surfing. I was like, whoa, that's kind of heavy. It's like, who is that? Like, after a little while, I realized it was obviously John, because no one surfs that spot the way he does. He was just manhandling this giant 15, 20-foot wall like it's a little quarter pipe. I shot this picture of him surfing. It looks like it's kind of shot in the water, but I'm actually standing right in the shore break and just shooting. That's why you get the foreground wave right there. Next thing I know, Surfer's Journal hit me up. It's like, hey, we'd really love to see that picture you shot of John. Like, can you send it to us? And didn't hear anything back for like 6 months. I'm like, they must have not used it. And it came back home from Europe, and it's got a box of magazines, and they put it on the cover. And that was my first surf picture ever published. I just put it right on the cover.
There's just something so cool about someone who's been on the other side of the lens, being able to relate to the subject matter, you know? The camera's never in your face when he's shooting. And I was like, dude, you should shoot some stuff for us with John. And it's a defining characteristic of our brand's DNA. You know, it's very much aligned with who John is and the brand that we're building.
That picture, I feel like that kind of just also gave me confidence, but it like opened up the world over here. And he's just kind of led to other things, shooting for brands, doing all these different things, and now it's turning into a book. Like I have a book coming out this fall. So this is, I guess I didn't waste all this paper for nothing. Shooting the people here, shooting surfing, and just shooting the community here, it made me fall in love with photography even more than ever. You know, it just kind of gave me that spark, and now I just like, it just feels right. This is what I have to do. I don't know why. I just have to make pictures.
Hawaii is a very wild place. And I think that's kind of what pulled him over here. Reconnect with Mother Nature and the land and the waves and the wildness of the ocean. And he's so integrated spiritually with it, you know, because that's definitely like, he's the same kind of person.
You know, the ocean is a healing force for a lot of us as natives, that we just go out there to heal and to reflect and to meditate, whatever it is, or even the repeating patterns of the waves coming in and that energy. And I think after a lifelong of intense, high-paced skateboarding, that this was probably the perfect spot for him to heal from whatever it might be throughout life and experiences, to just find a real like stoic place within his life that worked out really well for him.
I'm so proud of what he's doing and what he's done. It's crazy how far he came, knowing where he came from and how many obstacles he had in front of him, you know, but for Arto, you know, like any obstacle, he's gonna get over it and he's gonna learn it and he's gonna conquer it and overcome it, you know? So it's only respect and love for that guy.
The fact that he's still able to be successful and make a living after like the most insane like skate career is like, I think it's testament to what's inside them and what drives them and what drove them to be great skateboarders.
You gotta be a little bit of a psycho to start skateboarding in the first place, because it hurts, it's difficult, and the world's stacked against you. But I kind of, throughout the process, I just kind of put my hands up. I'm just like, just go with the flow. Just go with where life takes you, you know? I mean, even bad ideas seem good at the time, you know?